The world of finance can feel like an impossible maze, a system of markets and rules that control everything. But what if all that complexity is just a cover? What if the real story is about a much more coordinated plan with a few powerful hands pulling the strings of our financial lives? This isn't just about the stock market going up or down. It's about the very structure of power, the hidden machinery that shapes global money. We're not talking about a simple conspiracy theory, but a sophisticated network of powerful people and institutions working together. Today, we're peeling back the layers to ask, who's really pulling the financial strings, and what is their globalist agenda? But first, leave a comment below telling us which country you're watching this video from. To get to the bottom of this, we need to understand what globalist agenda really means in this context. It's not some secret club in a dark room. It's a way of thinking and operating that's all about merging economies, centralizing power, and making policies the same across the world. The justification is usually efficiency or global stability. This agenda quietly influences everything from your interest rates and trade deals to new technology and even social policies. The people pushing this believe the world should be managed by experts, where national independence gives way to international agreements, and money can flow freely across borders, even if that means wealth ends up in fewer and fewer hands. At the center of this web are the central banks. They're often presented as independent guardians of the economy. But their power and secrecy raise serious questions. Think about the Federal Reserve in the US, the European Central Bank, or the Bank for International Settlements, the BIS in Switzerland, often called the Central Bank of Central Banks. These institutions are mostly shielded from democratic control. They set interest rates, manage currencies, and their decisions, made behind closed doors, have huge effects on everyone's wealth. When central banks pump trillions of dollars into the system through quantitative easing, who really wins? Is it the average person or the wealthy elite whose assets grow in value while the rest of us see our purchasing power disappear? The BIS especially is where top central bankers coordinate their strategies, creating a global financial standard that often puts the banking system's stability ahead of the well-being of entire nations and their people. It's not that they're evil, but their immense, unchecked power operates from a global perspective that can easily ignore local democratic voices. Beyond central banks, you have powerful international institutions like the International Monetary Fund, or IMF, and the World Bank. They were created after World War II to promote economic cooperation, but they've become powerful enforcers of a specific economic model. When countries need a loan, these organizations often attach strict conditions. These structural adjustments usually mean privatizing public services, cutting social programs, and opening up markets. Critics say these policies, while sold as a path to growth, often just open up struggling nations to foreign corporate takeover, weaken their social safety nets, and make them more dependent on global financial markets. It's a classic case of wealth being transferred from the poor to the rich, pulling these countries deeper into a global system where they have very little say. Giving unelected bodies the power to dictate economic policy to entire nations is a perfect example of financial strings being pulled from a central global authority. Now, let's look at the private sector, where massive asset management firms like BlackRock and Vanguard rule. They hold huge stakes in almost every major corporation on the planet. Through their index funds, they become the biggest shareholders in competing companies across every industry, from tech and pharma to energy and media. This creates an incredible concentration of ownership. They claim to be passive investors, but their voting power at shareholder meetings gives them enormous influence over corporate strategy and who sits on the board. This revolving door ensures that the mindset from the top of global finance directly shapes our laws and regulations, creating a cycle that keeps the same powerful system in place. The architects of this system also meet in exclusive private groups like the World Economic Forum in Davos, the Bilderberg Group, and the Trilateral Commission. This is where ideas are shared and strategies are formed that often become major global policies later on. Supporters say these meetings are for cooperation, but critics see them as a shadow government, where a handful of unelected elites shape global policy far from public view. They discuss everything from climate change and AI to the future of money itself. The fact that the same ideas and narratives often come out of these groups and are then adopted by governments and international bodies points to a coordinated effort to steer the world in a specific direction. In our digital age, these financial strings are getting woven into our technology. The push for central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, is a huge step towards more control. They're promoted as being efficient and secure, but they could give governments and central banks the power to monitor every single financial transaction you make. Imagine a world where every dollar you earn and spend is traceable, programmable, and potentially controllable by the state. This level of financial surveillance would be a massive threat to privacy and freedom, paired with AI and big data. This new digital frontier offers new tools for centralizing financial power, all sold to us as modernization and convenience. The underlying technology, however, could create a system of control unlike anything we've ever seen before. When you put it all together, the powerful central banks, the influential global organizations, the dominant asset managers, the elite forums. This isn't just about making money. It's about the power to shape what we believe, influence political decisions, and direct the future of our world. So, the globalist agenda isn't some wild conspiracy theory. It's a real, observable pattern of integration and centralization, run by a transnational elite whose interests don't always align with ours. It's an agenda that values global interconnectedness, often at the cost of national independence and individual freedom. Understanding who's really pulling the strings means we have to look past the simple explanations and dig into how these powerful groups work together. We need to think critically, question their motives, and challenge the stories we're told by mainstream sources. The goal isn't to create fear, but to build awareness and empower you to demand more transparency and accountability from those who hold so much financial power. Our financial future and our freedom depends on us understanding these forces. The globalist agenda is actively shaping our world right now. One policy, one transaction, and one new technology at a time. The question isn't whether the strings exist, but whether we, the people, will keep letting them be pulled without understanding who's doing the pulling and where they taking us. Empowering ourselves with this knowledge is the first step to reclaiming our sovereignty and building a fairer, more transparent future. If you found this analysis insightful and think it's crucial to understand these hidden dynamics, then join the conversation. Share your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe for more critical financial education and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. Your engagement helps us bring more truths to light.